Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Silver Track Extra, where we give you tools, tips, and tricks to improve your guard management, retain more customers, win more contracts, and gain the upper hand against your competitors. Here are your hosts, Chris Anderson and Johnny Page.
What's up, Silver Track Nation? Johnny Page and Chris Anderson here on episode number 72 of the Silver Track Extra, where we're going to kick off a 5 or 6 part series here on managing supervisors and really all that goes into managing that middle level of management within your business. And today we're going to talk about and kind of lay the framework for everything that we'll share over the next 5 episodes. Today we're going to talk about the owner's dilemma and this belief or this thought or this thing out there that you really need a core team around you to accomplish the goals that you have as a security company owner. But really there's a big difference between having the need and actually being able to fulfill that and get that team around you. So Chris, how did you deal with this? I'm sure you have personal experience from this. I know you had a great team around you when you were growing your security company. How did you handle the owner's dilemma of needing that core team but not always being able to fulfill it?
Well, people are always, it's a people business, and I really learned in this side that I couldn't put out an application, ask for a manager to come in, because number one, a real qualified manager, whether it came from a different type of a company, it was pretty pricey, and I didn't have the money to do that. So I really had to depend on the lower level. I wanted people within my company to grow, right? Yeah. And I wanted to pull from the ranks, people that have been out in the field doing the work because they know how to do the job. They know the pain points, right? So they had to be a really good communicator. So it's just really working hard to share that mission, the mission statement, your core values, and in other words, what you believe in as a company. You had to really send that message down to your troops and get that support before I could bring anybody up in the ranks. And we talked to Bob from Quantec. He brought up a good part. He mentioned one time, what would Bob do? And when he said when he was around the table sharing his concept or his vision, that was a lot of things. What he really wanted everybody to do is just think like me. What would I do? You all know, what our mission is. We talk about it for a long time. Just put yourself in my shoes. Yeah. Think from the heart. It's okay to make a mistake from the heart to the mind. You can evaluate that. So it's just hard to pull from, John. It's a difficult organization. Or the security industry itself. Yeah.
I think if we were to recap what the owner's dilemma is here is basically the fact that the owner is going to be in the business forever, right? Like they're going to live and die with the business, however it plays out. If there's a giant lawsuit, or if a guard doesn't show up on time, or if you're going to lose a contract, everything kind of falls back onto the owner, but a manager has the ability to walk away. If things get hard, they can just walk away, or they don't have this tie to the business as heavily as the owner does. So figuring out a way to get people who are equally as invested in the success of the business as the owner really is a dilemma here. How do you do that without giving up part of your business, or running the financials down to zero every month, or going into debt by hiring the high dollar managers? How do you do that? How do you balance keeping someone that's super engaged and is invested in the outcome of the business, and then also compensating them as well? So I think and these were conversations that we had with people at CalSaga. I thought it was super interesting speaking with Con from Global Security Concepts. He's managing about 800 officers, and at a point where really looking to establish a core team that he can hand things off to and trust that they're going to step in and be reliable, so that he can go on and take on new things on the business instead of having to be such a critical part of the business.
Yeah, I read a thing from Richard Branson put out, from Virgin. He says, clients do not come first, employees come first. If you take care of your employees, then they will take care of the clients, right? And that's true. But then when we all jump into business like I did at first, I was working the car. Right, I was a supervisor in the field, and that's what a lot of these guys start out as, right? So the owners are actually in the field, and as they grow their business and they bring other employees in, who learn the business in hopes that they can bring them up through the ranks as supervisor / manager and so on, because you're really scared to bring somebody in to your business sometimes, especially from the outside, because you don't know who they are. You haven't had a chance to evaluate and see how they work. So you're scared to pay that fee, because if you pay it, you could lose it, right? And are you really going to get lucky enough to find that right manager the first time? No, chances are not. So you got to have that bankroll to be able to take that gamble, or be in a stronger position to write it out and evaluate it. You got to know what you want.
Yeah.
What kind of person are you looking for?
Well, SilverTrack Nation, let's take a break and hear from our sponsors over at Paperless Proposal. If you want to give your company a strong competitive advantage when prospective clients view your business proposals, use Paperless Proposal software to create visually stunning multimedia proposals. When you submit a multimedia proposal to a prospective client, you instantly create a personal connection with the people who view your proposal through the use of video clips that can be both pre-recorded or recorded directly from your webcam. Video allows you to present your company in a far more effective manner than using a dull text or PDF document, which is what your competitors will probably be using. Visit paperlessproposal.com/silvertrack to take advantage of a special offer just for our listeners. Now, let's get back to our featured conversation.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, Chris, that having that core team that you can really trust and rely on is absolutely mission critical if your business is going to grow, because there's like a maximum capacity of what you as an owner could handle. Some guys reach it when they're at 50 guards. Some guys reach it when they're at 250 guards. Some guys like Con reach it when they're 800 guards. But either way, you reach a point where you yourself cannot possibly take on any more onto your plate, and you've got to start having this like second tier of management that can be the in-between between the customers and the guards and the rest of the business, because someone's got to be driving the bus, right? And you can't always be driving the bus and be riding in all the seats on the bus at the same time. So,
and that's why we get weak, because we're trying to drive the bus. We're trying to do all these different things, right? So it's hard to manage our personnel, do sales, do the payroll, right? All those things is one when you're growing or starting a business, right? So again, it all starts from that core, the very basics, the very simple things, and you got to start from. You got to be able to pull. You should be able to pull from your own pool of people.
Yeah.
And it's just so hard. It really is, and that's what a lot of guys struggle. There's so much turn and burn because of it. Really is.
Chris, this is going to be a little bit off the cuff, but let's walk through a couple of the problems or ways that you can know that your supervisors are some of the problems at your business. So if they're not a major strength, they're causing blank problems. Chris, what are some of the issues that bad supervision or that middle level management can cause?
Well, number one, guards not showing up to a post. Guards showing up to a post that aren't properly trained, right? Guards that are leaving early, right? Because they're not being supervised. Guards in bad uniforms, right? Not equipped with the equipment or the flashlight to do the job, right?
Yeah.
And then not responding to your client, getting feedback from your client. All that's evaluated. It's as simple as a lot of guys will look at you and say, they'll look at you as an owner and say, is he a strong manager? Is he a weak manager? And I'm referring to you as an owner too, manager / owner. And because your supervision and your team will look at you and say, well, if I don't show up to work or I'm late, what really happens to me? Do I get a write-up? Am I jeopardizing my job? Are they going to put me in a different post? Or are they just going to slap my hand and tell me not to do it again? You know? Because the guards are aware of the turn. So they are looking up, and they're looking at their daddy. They're looking at their mommy and daddy to see exactly what you're going to do. You're going to give them a timeout. You're going to spank them. So it's a big part of it. So for an example, here at my place, guard supervision, they're having problems placing a guard here. So what does the supervisor do? He just grabs anybody out of the pile, threw him over here. The guy had no training. He walked right up to the manager's door and said, yeah, this is my first time here. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me? What do you think the client thought?
Jeez.
It's simple as that. And the supervisor felt that, well, I got somebody there. I think he had training there. He wasn't sure. That supervisor should have been here at this post, at this location, standing tall and making sure that guy had everything he needed to do and to support him before he even left. It's just stuff like that. And I think a lot of that's just weaker. Management got weak. They have no support. I think that's a big problem. So that's just the beginning. It goes on from there.
Yeah. So what we're going to do throughout this 6-part series is we're going to walk through the steps to really taking your middle level management and your supervisors from being something that walks a very fine line from being a help or being a hurt towards your business. We're going to walk through the process of how to really strengthen that team, make sure that you have the right people in place, and really make it an asset that you can use to grow your business and go to the next level. So in part 2, we're going to talk about sharing the vision, how you can really communicate the goals of your company and the vision of the company well so that your team can rally around it. Part 3, we're going to talk about establishing a process so that your managers know what they're responsible for, they understand where their boundaries are, and they understand really at the end of the day what's going to make their position a successful one versus one that's failing. Part 4, we're going to talk about measuring tasks and goals. So how can we help the manager know what's expected of them and assign specific tasks and measure those tasks throughout the month. Part 5, we're going to talk about managing behavior and different personality types. A lot of times they're going to have a lot of horses of different colors, right? So people with different backgrounds, different expertises. How can we really get a team to come together and really act as a unit? And then part 6, we'll talk about becoming a coach, not necessarily a referee, to where you're in a leadership role rather than someone who's constantly having to step in and intervene and put out fires all the time, getting to a place where you can really be a leader of your middle level management. So that's what we have in place. Chris, I think it's going to be a good series.
Yeah, there's going to be a long series, a lot to talk about, a lot to share. And John, I think we should probably reach out. Maybe we get some partners to come in and share some of their experiences and problems too. We got some good partners out there that we'd love to talk about it and help our listeners.
Yeah, we've got a lot of good resources in store. So be sure to subscribe to the SilverTrack Extra. If you haven't already done that, there is a bar on the top right-hand corner of the screen where you can drop in your email, and then every week we'll send you what we call our weekly roundup that sends you all of the podcasts that have been published that week, along with the written articles and a free resource. So be sure to sign up for that as well. But yeah, Chris, a lot of really good stuff coming up here. Anything else to add here as we wrap up the owner's dilemma and kind of set the table for this managing supervisors series?
The only thing I wanted to tell the listeners is that the resource center that we put together has a lot of that great information. I know you've mentioned it already, but you guys, we've got videos and all kinds of documentation. So feel free, jump in there, sign on with the SilverTrack Extra, get on the podcast, and take a look at those resource centers. There's great listening tools in there.
Awesome. Cool, guys. Well, until next time, my name is Johnny Page.
And I'm Chris Anderson.
This was the SilverTrack Extra, and we'll talk to you soon.